Following the stupidly wild success of the original Ghostbusters, it was inevitable that a sequel would follow. And in 1989, that happened. Released 5 years after the original, and set 5 years after the original, it sees the original 4 Ghostbusters of Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis and Ernie Hudson reprise their roles, as do Sigourney Weaver, Rick Moranis and Annie Potts to round off the main cast. Following the events of the first film, the Ghostbusters have been sued and put out of business after the destruction that their battle with Gozer the Gozerian caused in the city. However, a strange new paranormal threat emerges and the Ghostbusters are the only ones that can deal with it. The film was met with generally negative reviews. Critics basically were saying it was a copy of the original film but just taking its humour and softening it for a family-friendly audience. And, as it was the sequel to the highest grossing comedy film of all time, it was expected to dominate the box office. However, it didn't perform as expected, and Columbia Pictures deemed it a financial and critical failure. Despite this, however, it spawned a series of merchandise including board games, comic books, music, toys, haunted houses, interestingly enough, and of course video games. And it is the 1990 Activision release of Ghostbusters 2 for the Amstrad CPC 464 that we'll be looking at today. So grab your proton packs, let's bust some ghosts. Again. Well, we have a nice colourful credit sequence here. Interestingly enough, the Oliver twins were involved. That is an interesting font that they've gone with as well, to be honest with you. It looks quite nice. Unfortunately, this bit seems to be unskippable, so there's not an awful lot I can do here, sorry guys. "5 years later, okay, it looks like we're getting a bit of story here. Oscar, Dana's baby, narrowly escapes death by Otto as his... Okay, we're not going to see that. Spengler and Stantz investigate the site, the gigameter readings are as high as month-old pastrami. It's interesting that they've used stills, or tried to use stills from the movie here. I don't quite know if it works or not. Setting up a phony roadworks, yeah, air shaft to the Van Horn Railroad, okay, fair enough. Oh, right, turn disc over. Okay, well, we're going to have to do that then. Ah, title screen with some music. Okay then, so let's get to it, shall we? Interesting little jingle. Right, so first impressions right off the bat, this looks a hell of a lot better than the first game, although that's not saying much, because the first game looked absolutely dog crap. Almost swearing a bit there, but decided not to. Now, not gonna lie guys, I have done a... I'll move down once, there we go. Experience, well, I've got an experience of this already, in that I had a quick practice to try and get the controls down, which are needlessly complicated, might I say. But then I tried to record it earlier on, and I have to say guys, I'm sorry, but I'm kind of a bit tired and feeling a little bit under the weather at the moment. And I forgot that I didn't realise that my sound, my narration wasn't recording, so I got through the whole thing and wasn't recording any sound. So yeah, I do apologise, we're going to have to do this again. So I kind of know a little bit about what I'm doing, but it's still not going to make it any easier because this game is just frustrating as hell. Basically the objective here is this sequence where they're going down into the underground railroad. Ray's dangling down on a rope, and we have to kind of avoid ghosties and collect things and try not to get our rope broken. These hands will in fact try and do that. They will try and cut your rope, and I've found that for the most part staying at this sort of orientation will help out. And these health pickups are very, very useful, as it turns out. You only have limited proton pack energy, which is also less than useful, and your momentum whilst you're swinging is just not useful. Oh. No, I want to shoot upwards, not downwards. Yeah, those hands kind of try to cut your rope. So the difficulty comes here in the aiming, in that, well, you moved me away from that ghost, which is nice, but yeah, the difficulty comes here is in the aiming. Let's just stop here for a minute. Oh, we bounced up. No, come on, no. Get away from that. Get away from that hand, thank you. Right, just kind of move down. You can only select the... What am I talking about? Only select. You can only aim whilst you're shooting, kind of up or down, and you can also only rotate whilst you're shooting. If you push left or right whilst you're not shooting, you kind of swing, which is like that, which is not ideal. Let's get that if we can. Yep, that's a health pickup. Can I'll just land on the platform and stop moving? No. Okay, well, we're gonna stop swinging. So yeah, this control scheme, I can see what they're trying to do here, but it's just not done very well. But now that I've had a few goes of this, I have to say, kind of getting used to these quirks and nuances of this game. I mean, it's a real good thing that you didn't hear me talk about it in the last narration, because I was slating it to hell. Get up. Okay, no, we're at the bottom. Let's go down. Oh, and lack of courage, and that's what happens. Now, if we start right back up at the beginning again, which we are going to, I am going to cut it there because you've seen this level, and this is kind of mostly of what it is. I can't do this level at all. It's just stupidly difficult and frustrating. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this maybe off camera to see if we can actually get to the bottom of this shaft like I just did, with the required items that I've just realised I need, and we'll see what we can do. So I'll be right back. Yeah, okay, the same thing happened. I got all the items this time, at least I think I did. I got to the bottom, didn't quite know what it was I needed to do, and once again it was lack of courage that did me in, so I think we'll leave it there. So let's talk about it. Okay, so like I said, I'd kind of done this a couple of times already. I kind of hadn't recorded the narration, so I kind of knew what I was in for when I started recording this again. And yeah, I'm not a massive fan of this, I have to say. Well, let's kind of break it down a bit, shall we? The game itself looks great. The graphics are nice, they're big, they're colourful, you can see what's going on. There's a lot going on the screen, but it doesn't look messy much. It's a nice looking game. The sound effects are there. There's no music in the background, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's sound effects that give the game the atmosphere. So you've got the sound of the proton packs, you've got the sound of, you know, bouncing around. What lets it down is the controls. It's an incredibly clunky control system. You push left or right to swing, but when you hold the fire button is when you can rotate or aim up and down, and it's really, I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to do a kind of pseudo 3D 8-way control, but it just doesn't work. It's not very practical. I mean, the more you play it, the more you get used to how it works, so I guess with some patience and perseverance you could get something out of this. But I've gone through this, I think this is about my 4th time playing this now. I mean, the first 2 times were 1 to check it works and 2 to test out the controls. The 3rd time was the time when I didn't have any narration and I kind of slated it off, and this time, actually, to be honest with you, it kind of warmed on me a little bit. Kind of now it's kind of sunk in as to what it is I have to do. But initially this game was frustrating as hell. I mean, it still is, but you know, now that you know what you've got to do and you can you've got the control system down, it's not as bad, but it still is quite frustrating. Now, Amstrad Action inexplicably gave this 94%. I mean, they might have got more out of it than I did, they might have got further in the game, I don't know. But quite frankly, that is baffling to me. If you look at my leaderboard, with an Amstrad Action score of 94%, that puts it up the top with Gauntlet and Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, and yeah, no, that's just not happening. I'm not going to rate it as low as I originally did in my previous playthrough, but it's still not great. I'm still not a fan, quite frankly, and it's definitely better than the original, but that's not saying much because the original was ghastly. See what I did there? No, okay, moving on. But yeah, so it's, in my opinion, it's not much better. The only thing that saves it is the graphics and the music on the title screen, really. It has ambition, I'll give it that, but yeah, for me it's not great. So ratings wise, I was going to rate it around the same as Arachnophobia, and I think I still might, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's not the best game on the planet. It's an interesting concept, but I'll give it 45, I think. The graphics and the music is doing a lot of the heavy lifting there. The control system is just appalling. It's very, very, very difficult to do anything. So yeah, unfortunately, Ghostbusters 2, 45%. So yeah, let me know how wrong I was in the comments. There is another Ghostbusters game on the Amstrad, the real Ghostbusters, so I may have a look at that in the future, but for now I think I am hanging up my busting boots. So sorry guys, you know, you're out of business again. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you for the next one. So until then, see you later. Bye bye.